Shalom everyone, Gedaliah Goldstein of Israel Torah Tours. I'm standing here on Har HaZeitim, giving you a very interesting and unique vantage point looking out westwards towards the Old City, towards Har HaBayit. Okay, so I'm looking from the Mount of Olives westwards, and what you see in front of you is actually not the Kotel HaMaravi, it's the Kotel HaMizrachi, it's the eastern wall of Har HaBayit. Most people don't even realize that there is an eastern wall, okay, but if there's a western wall, there's an eastern wall, there's a southern wall. The north is a little more complicated, we'll talk about that some other time. So looking out, first of all, in front of us you can see the oldest Jewish cemetery still in use in the world. In Parshat Chukat it says that the Parah Aduma was prepared outside the camp. Okay, and that's in the times of the Mishkan when we're in the Midbar. But when we look at Chazal, what happens when we actually come inside the land of Eretz Yisrael and into Yerushalayim and we have the Beis HaMikdash? So then the Chazal teach us that it was built on Har HaZeitim, on the Mount of Olives. And there was a bridge that was built across the way from Har HaBayit to Har HaZeitim, and it was built arches on top of arches so that there wouldn't be any problem of tum'ah in the valley itself. As they're crossing from there, you'd have the Kohen who's preparing it, you'd have the other people who are helping prepare it, and you'd have the Parah Aduma which come across that bridge to Har HaZeitim. Now, Chazal also teach us a number of things about this place where the Parah Aduma was prepared. One is that it had to be a flat place. They called it a gat. A gat is a wine press. That means that it was a flat area. Not that it was actually used as a wine press, but that it was an area big enough for the platform that was there, and it would have been flat and it could be used for this service. In addition, they said that it was hollowed out underneath, and that way you don't have a problem of potential tumah from underneath. And there was also a mikvah for the kohen who was doing the process to be able to be mitaher, to be able to tavel himself afterwards, to immerse himself. But there's another important factor for helping us to try to figure out where this could have taken place, and that's that the kohen who was doing this process had to be able to see from the area on Har HaZeitim across not only to Har HaBayit, he'd have to be able to see into the Heichal itself. In order to do that, Chazal teaches us that the eastern wall was actually the lowest of the walls, so that he'd be able to see over it, and still he'd have to see through 4 different gates just to be able to see through into the Heichal itself, which is pretty amazing. What that means is that he'd have to see through a very narrow place, and we can approximate, again, depending on the size of the Amma, there are different opinions as far as that, we can approximate how much area that actually could have been, but he'd have to be able to see through those gates. And again, Har HaBayit is on an incline towards the area where the Dome of the Rock is today, meaning that he'd be able to see through those gates in an upwards direction, and that would place the place of the preparation of the Parah Aduma pretty much directly across. In fact, based on a fascinating study by Dr. Aaron Adler, the window of where this could have been, of the potential area on Har HaZeitim where this could have been, is only 40 by 40 meters. Okay, a meter again is around 3 feet, so that makes it a very small window. And inside, let's see what we have within that window. Okay, you know I don't talk too much about churches, that's not my style, but in this case we do have an interesting find over here, and it's not the church itself but the courtyard. Okay, here in this church courtyard they found it's a flat area, and the entire courtyard is on top of a cistern, a hollowed out cistern, which was used at some point for storing water. Okay, perhaps water that would have been directed towards this place could also have been used to fill a mikvah that was in the area, that was constructed in the area, a place where a kohen could have taveled and immersed himself. In addition, it's again, and this is the main point, it's within that 40 by 40 meter area that fits in, being directly across from the Dome of the Rock, the area where perhaps, again, there are different opinions about this as well, but perhaps where the Kodesh Kodashim stood. And this could help us in both ways. Perhaps it could help us understand where the place of Parah Aduma was, and it could also perhaps help us understand where the place of the Kodesh Kodashim was. So it works both ways. Another interesting point regarding this, there are many churches today on Har HaZeitim, and these are very old churches. And with the Muslim conquest, the Muslims came in and destroyed these churches, most of them, and turned them into mosques. Then the Christians come back in, they destroy the mosques and turn them into churches. And it's kind of a way of saying, our God is stronger. It's a way of saying, look, we succeeded and we've wiped you out and our ideology is stronger. And so holy places often remain holy places. And if that's true, then we can understand why the place of Parah Aduma would have remained a holy place, and the place of the Kodesh Kodeshim would remain a holy place as well, perhaps as kind of a statement of ideology.